the Spanish word for 8 years. How is it for an 8-year-old to be raised here in Ecuador? Well, it's an adventure, let me tell you. If you're a parent, you understand that I need this. And good morning, and welcome to another beautiful day here in Ecuador. Today, we're talking about raising a kid, 8 years old, here in Ecuador, compared to what I grew up with in the United States, and my wife grew up on an island of Antigua. So how is this different from our childhoods, and what kind of sports do they have here? How much does it cost for a kid to go to school here in Ecuador? All these different things, and bottom line, is it worth it for you to come here to Ecuador with a kid and raise a kid here, or is it better to stay or go to the United States and raise your kid there, or Antigua or Chile? We're going to be comparing all of those different things, and maybe even more important than that is, what does Moses think about living here in Ecuador? All right, let's dive into it right now. Let's start with the education. Both me and my wife are teachers. I taught in the Dominican Republic, I taught in Chile, I taught in the United States, and now live here in Ecuador with an 8-year-old son. So, how is the education compared to my standard of education and what I expect after studying and teaching? And honestly, for me and our experience, it has been awesome. The education system here, at least at the private schools, is really, really good. You do have to pay for it, and it can be around $200 per trimester, or it could be up to really expensive. I mean, sky's the limit. Cotopaxi, I think that's the most expensive school in all of Ecuador. I think it's really expensive. You can look it up for yourself. I don't know the prices, but it can be really expensive. But paying for the private education is, to me, worth it. The teachers are really caring at Moses' school, and if you're interested in moving here to Ecuador and finding out the school he goes to and what I would recommend, just leave a comment right below or send me an email. And honestly, there's one huge difference between education here in the United States and education in, anywhere else in the world. I made a whole video about the education here in Ecuador and compared it to the United States, and that link is right below. But education, Moses loves his school, and we have so many books that are in our house that usually we bring from the United States, and honestly, Moses is a really good reader and the top of his class for English and in Spanish, which all of his classmates are from here in Ecuador. There's no kids from the United States in his classroom, and I think that's a really cool thing that he's learning Spanish, but also some English from us at home, and also his school teaches English as well. So, education, I think, from our experience, I would give it a 9 out of 10. 10 out of 10 is pretty tough. 9 out of 10, I think that the education system is really good. Sneak peek into the video. Classes only go until 2 p.m. here in Ecuador, maybe 2:30, but I think that's a big difference. Go watch the video for the whole story. But where am I right now? Let me show you. And welcome to soccer practice. So Moses just finished soccer practice, but this is basically my life now. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, soccer practice, and games sometimes on Sunday. And the difference here is that in the United States, there's baseball, there's basketball, there's American football.
There's me.
There's Moses. And here, it's mostly football. Soccer, football. And I think that's really, really cool because when you turn on the TV and you watch sports here, it's probably going to be that. But Moses really wants to play basketball sometime, and at his school, they offer a little bit of that, but typically in Ecuador, you're going to be doing football. And wow, that was an intense hit. Moses, what do you think about the sports here in Ecuador compared to the United States?
United States sports for me, baseball, no. Soccer, yep. Nothing else.
Nothing else, that's it.
Wait, what? Basketball, yep.
Yep.
What's that supposed to mean?
Okay, a kid just got nailed, like completely annihilated, so I stopped the video. But you probably want to know how much it costs for kids to go to camps. So Moses is in a soccer camp. There's no way we could afford that on a teacher's salary in the United States. But honestly, here, it's not that bad. So here in Ecuador, it costs $65 per month for him to go to this soccer camp, which is 3 and usually 4 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then also on Saturday there's practice, and Sunday there is a game. So $65 a month is pretty incredible, and then they get a warm-up jersey and pants and 2 different shorts, 2 different jerseys, name on the back, and that's usually around $80. So compared to the United States for camps, it's pretty incredible. The summer camp too, it cost $90 per 2 weeks, and that was every day of the week with a snack included. And honestly, that is pretty incredible as well. I think you pay like $300 per week in some camps in the United States, so we wouldn't be able to afford that either in the United States. Going for a walk here in a park. If you live here in Ecuador, try and guess the park. I'll tell you what it is in the end. But let's keep talking about what Moses thinks about living here in Ecuador. He's with me. Hi, Mo.
Hi.
All right, it's so hard to walk, but look at these flowers. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. Case in point about the football. It is on these 2 huge screens right behind us, and that's the only thing on the TVs. This is crazy. So we're at the bookstore right now. Moses, which book do you want? Diario de Greg.
3. They didn't have it at any bookstore.
No bookstores. Isn't that crazy? We're trying to find the book. Books are very much more expensive here, but they are awesome. And you can find bookstores all over the Quito area at least. And
none of them have it.
They do not have the Diario de Greg number 3. But that's okay, because you have other books to read for now. We're going to keep looking. But I love the bookstores. They have everything you need. English books, cooking books, and other books as well. I love that. It's so good. All right, let's keep this Nino happy. So, what does Moses think about living here in Ecuador? What's the similarities, differences? He's been to schools just for a couple of days in the United States, and he's been to schools obviously here and also in Chile, but he probably doesn't remember much of Chile. All right, Moses, come here. Tell us about your experience. What do you think?
I think the schools in the United States are cool.
You have to look at the camera. You have to look at everyone. They're watching you.
And compared to the Ecuador schools, the ones in the United States are pretty good for me. I like them because you only speak English and they don't really teach you Spanish. But in Ecuador, you have to speak Spanish. They teach you English, and everything seems way too easy for me.
Way too easy.
Because they speak English.
Because they only speak English, and next year you start to learn French too in school.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool. In different countries, they teach you different languages. In the United States, it's mostly just Spanish. English, but a little bit of Spanish. So, Moses disappeared already. The dogs are so happy, and that brief interview was probably good enough for the kids to understand that, honestly, Moses doesn't know the difference between living in the United States and living in another country because he grew up in other countries. He grew up in Chile for 4 years and now 4 years here in Ecuador. So for him, the United States is actually different. Like, it's not necessarily his home. He only goes there to visit and see my parents and see his aunts and uncles and things like that and friends. But this is really his home, and he is so blessed with his school. It is an awesome, awesome, awesome school. We are blessed. We feel safe with him there, and well, he's ready to go on the playground. All right, let's go, doggies. Nice.
Oh my God.
And then let's talk about the dogs. Seeing as I have the dogs with me and we're having fun together, it's pretty necessary to talk to you about these dogs. And it's so fun to have dogs here in Ecuador and in Chile because it's so much cheaper to have animals here rather than the United States. Anytime you go to the United States and you have a problem with your dog, I feel like it's like $500 to pay for whatever is wrong with your dog. Here, it's a few dollars, maybe $10, $20, and if it's something serious, it might be a couple $100s. But in the United States, I mean, if it's something serious, it's going to be thousands of dollars. We had a cat when we were in the United States. My parents are still watching our cat for us in case we come back. But our cat had a problem with its peeing, and it cost us around $1,500 for it to be able to pee again. I mean, it was incredibly expensive. Here, I feel like that would cost just a couple $100s. And the food here for dogs and the upkeep and things like that, for 3 dogs per month, we pay about $60 for everything. That's dog wash, that's the food, that's washing their teeth and things like that, brushing their teeth. And to me, having dogs here is so much easier because you can just walk outside any time of the year. But in the United States, where I'm from, at least in the northern parts, you really can't do that because it's so cold outside for, well, a couple of months at least, with snow and things like that. So you walk outside, you have to wear all these different layers, you walk the dog really quick, and then you come back in, and that's all the dog gets. Here, you have the outdoors where usually there's a fence and the dog can just play outside all day while you're at work and be happy outside where they belong. What do you think about having dogs here, Moses?
I think the food is incredibly cheap.
The food for dogs is incredibly cheap.
That's all.
Words of wisdom. That's it. Awesome.
Wisdom.
Let's keep exploring. Okay, let's talk about safety. How is it for kids to grow up here? And is it safe for a kid to be here and hang out here? And, well, obviously, you might be able to tell that I would say yes, because Moses is playing in a nice playground right now. We're with the dogs. There's other dogs walking around, and he's on this, well, check this thing out. Look at this. You go in here, and there's a rope in here, and you have to climb up the rope. Oh my goodness. But even though maybe the places here, like these swing sets and playgrounds, aren't up to like the standards of the United States, these are like rusty and falling apart sometimes, it's still fun for a kid. And you think about the United States in probably like the 60s, 70s, that's what this would be, is just a playground, a place for the kids to play. We've never had issues with Moses getting hurt or things like that on a playground. And safety, even though it looks a little bit sketchy, is actually very safe. Also, when you hear about the news and things from the United States about Ecuador, sometimes you might hear like, you know, some pretty bad things. Honestly, if you're staying away from those places that are really difficult, I've never had a problem here besides a phone robbery, which could happen in any city around the world. So, for me, safety, I feel very safe. We live in a gated community, which is very typical here, not very typical in the United States. If you want me to make a video about houses and how different houses are here between here and the United States, I'll make a video about that. Leave me a comment. But Moses wants me to look. There he is. He made it to the top.
Now I have to go down.
He is alive. Now he comes down. Safety for me, I will give it a 6.5 out of 10. I feel very safe, but you do have to be careful with the different places here. Where I grew up in the United States, I would give that safety a 9.5 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10 in the suburbs of Wisconsin, where not very much happens and you don't have to worry very much at all about anything. So you do have to be a little bit more careful, but that's a difference between the suburbs of Wisconsin and the suburbs of a big city of millions of people. All right. I do think though, when you're a parent, you kind of want, and I don't know why this is, but you want kids to have what you had growing up. So for me, it was really fun for me to see Moses with my parents a couple of weeks ago in the winter of Wisconsin, seeing the schools, going to school with my mom because she's a teacher, and just seeing like how to build a snow fort and how to go to Walmart and how to get like the foods that I grew up with and things like that. But when you move to another country, you kind of have to give all of that up. You can't just expect things to be exactly like they were when you were a kid. And you have to accept that part, otherwise you're just gonna be really upset with life. Because honestly, you're not gonna find the cheese from Wisconsin. There's gonna be cheese from Ecuador. You're not gonna find the sausage from Wisconsin. You're gonna find sausage from Ecuador, and so on and so forth. And I think that that's okay. Like an asado from, oh boy, here he comes. An asado from Chile is going to be different than an asado from the United States or from Ecuador. And that's okay. You have to be okay with these changes and not expect things to be exactly like they were when you were a kid. And we're so blessed that Moses does get some of those experiences, but his childhood is going to be very different than my childhood. And once you realize that that's okay, I think that then you flip a switch and you're just like, oh, I appreciate this about this place. And Moses, when he grows up, is going to appreciate so many things that I never had an opportunity to when I was a kid, like going on an airplane. I never went on an airplane until I was much, much older than Moses. And honestly, I'm okay with that for Moses, to be able to go and travel and see the world. And our life, my dad would always come home at the same time and leave at the same time in the morning. My mom as well. For me and Elise is in Peru right now doing a trip, and I'll be going on different trips, and Moses grows up with parents being gone, and that's okay because we treat it like a really fun thing for Moses. So we go to parks when Elise is gone, and when I'm gone, Elise gets different foods from the markets right around and gets to try different things and hang out with different people. And we're so blessed with the community that we have here and just the friends that we have. So if you are thinking about coming here with an 8-year-old or a kid or a high schooler, just keep an open mind. If you didn't learn anything else in the video for today, just remember that keeping an open mind is probably the most important thing about moving to another country. For you yourself, and especially because you're bringing a kid, you want them to experience something for the first time and have fun here and not just think that it's not as good as from where you came from. It's so important for you to appreciate and show that you appreciate to your kids the things that are around you where you live now. You may have made a choice to move here. Well, embrace it, have fun, enjoy it. And I think when you start that switch flip, then I think that you're going to start enjoying it yourself, and you're also going to have your kids that are just going to love it and enjoy it as well. I mean, just look how beautiful this is. Here's the city of Quito right up here. Here's the park. You guessed the park? Parque Guapalo. I love this park. It's so beautiful. There's a little pond that you walk into. Well, not into. If I were Jesus, I would walk on the water, but I'm not going to walk into that pond. It's kind of nasty, but it looks beautiful from the outside with a little pato, duck, and it's just such a beautiful place to be here. Moses is enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, and we live a very blessed life here. We love Ecuador, love the United States, love Chile, and how cool that we're able to experience all these different places in a very unique way, and also by finding the little things and little joys in life. Hope that you enjoyed this video for today. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok, Gringo y Latino, and we'll see you guys in another video. But for now, ciao, Pascal.